These are the best heroes to play right now after the mid-season patch in Overwatch 2. Roadhog is ridiculously OP. He's so powerful. Look, just look at this. This is just from a competitive game earlier on in the day. Look at the score. What is going on here? This is absolutely disgusting. This is because Roadhog is just a monster of massive damage, huge HP, but also a lot of the heroes in the game can kind of remove the weaknesses of Roadhog, especially Kiriko. If you've got her on your team, you're just insane. But we'll go into more detail on that a bit later on in the video. But look at this. This is the end of that match. What is going on here? Look, 25 eliminations and 2 deaths. And I was rezzed for both of those, I think. So nice job, Mercy. Look at the enemy team. They got annihilated. I'm not saying these guys are bad. I'm just saying I think Roadhog was the reason why. Because, yeah, I think Roadhog was the reason why. Oh, my team were playing well as well. But, yeah, Roadhog. Anyway, let's get stuck into the tier list because this is going to be quite eye-opening. All right then, guys, grab a drink because this is going to be a juicy long video, but we're going to go into detail on all of the heroes for this mid-season patch. Okay, so we're going to start off with Kiriko. We're going to put Kiriko into the S+ mega meta tier. She is still incredibly powerful. Now, the reason for this is Kiriko can remove weaknesses of a lot of the heroes. What I mean by that is if you take a Reaper, Reaper's weakness is slow rate of fire and obviously slow movement speed when in combat. However, when Kiriko drops her ultimate, well, that cures both of those problems for Reaper, so he can get into the fight fast and do incredible damage because he's got super fast rate of fire, which just is super good. But also, if you look at other heroes like Roadhog, who is also an S+ mega meta hero, Kiriko removes his weaknesses as well, because how do you control a Roadhog? Well, you put him to sleep with Ana. Well, actually, wait a minute. Kiriko can just throw a Suzu at him and he'll just get up. Yeah, she is so powerful. She fills in the gaps of a lot of heroes. Well, I say a lot of heroes, but the two main heroes is definitely Reaper and definitely Roadhog. She just gets rid of their weaknesses and makes them incredibly powerful. And also, Kiriko herself has great healing. Really great healing. It's a little bit difficult to get used to the healing, but I think by now players are generally quite good with Kiriko, so healing output should be pretty good. The kunais as well, if you land the shots, it is a surprising amount of effective damage. She doesn't do a ton of damage compared to, like, let's say a Moira, but what she does do is effective damage. If she is landing those shots, landing those headshots, she can just remove people from the fight, which is very good. And also, it's a very strong sting in the tail if people try and take on Kiriko in 1v1. However, Kiriko will just teleport away, which is another major benefit of this hero. She is, again, designed for 5v5. She's ultra mobile. You shouldn't really be dying that often as Kiriko. You should be able to provide a ton of healing. Your Suzu removes almost all negative effects, which is just so incredibly powerful. And your ultimate just enables everyone on your team. So you're incredibly powerful. Kiriko, right now, S tier pick. I'd keep playing Kiriko. So let's keep this with the supports and let's just go straight in for Lucio. Now, Lucio hasn't really changed from any other tier list you guys have probably watched or seen, or any tier list that I've made. He is, again, a 5v5 hero, and he's really good for this. So he's got high individual survivability. His ultimate is really good. His damage potential is really good once you get used to his sort of primary fire and landing the shots. I mean, I'll be the first one to say I'm not a very good Lucio player. Like, I don't know what it is, but the wall riding stuff and that, it just doesn't work in my brain. But if it does work in your brain, yeah, Lucio is really good. Speed boost, incredibly powerful. He's highly resilient as well. You have to think Lucio benefits from the out of combat heal passive, but also he's just healing himself anyway. And yeah, there's just so much going on with Lucio. He's so actually doesn't. No, actually, I've said that, but I don't know whether he does. I may be telling a porky pie there. Did they change that? I'm not sure, but anyway, even if it doesn't affect him, Lucio still heals himself, right? Lucio is super tanky. So he can take duels. This is the other main thing to take away with Lucio. You can go in onto, like, if there's an enemy Widowmaker, you better get on that Widow as your Lucio and just destroy her. You will. You'll kill her. You'll absolutely kill her. Unless she lands an amazing headshot, you're gonna kill her. But beyond that, just playing, even if you play like a ground Lucio instead of wall riding, just speed boosting and healing, it is so powerful with Lucio. He is really good. But remember, the big takeaway here, again, on the whole idea of removing weaknesses from heroes, Lucio gives you speed boost, and that lets you reposition faster, and again, enables a lot of heroes that might be slower, heroes like your Roadhogs and your Reapers. Yeah, I mean, if you want to play Roadhog and you see these two as your support, you better play Roadhog, because you're just going to have an absolute wonderful time. All right, let's do it. Let's get stuck into the big boy Roadhog. Okay. Roadhog is just mental. Now, Roadhog, on the face of it, you'd think, okay, he's maybe not that good because, you know, what's he doing? He's not even a tank, really, Roadhog. He's just this big guy who everybody shoots, who never dies, and has got a massively powerful self-heal. But wait, he can actually... The thing with Roadhog, right, you can play him. You don't have to be a flanker Roadhog, which maybe back in the day you had to be. Now you don't. You can play Roadhog literally straight down the middle. You can send him straight down mid and you can just start doing damage to people. The other tanks you'll come against, unless it's another Roadhog, they can't really do much damage to you, and you can really bully them out of position. You can even bully Orisa, and Orisa's meant to be the counter to Roadhog, or one of the counters to Roadhog, let's say. She's not really. You can just do what you like to Orisa. She just stands there, doesn't do enough damage to kill you, and you can do enough damage to kill her. Yeah, it's a bit of a long fight. Obviously, you'll get support from your support heroes, and she'll be supported as well. I wouldn't prioritize killing Orisa. I would just walk past Orisa and kill everybody else. But Hog is highly independent. But the thing what is giving Hog a ton of power right now is the Kiriko. Gives him a ton of power. Also, like I said, she removes a lot of his weaknesses. So if he gets slept, she can wake him back up with Suzu. Her ultimate is incredibly powerful with him. But it's not just that, though. When you look at other heroes, like if you look at an Ana, Nano Boost is really, really strong on Roadhog. Like super strong on Roadhog. Lucio's Speed Boost, super strong on Roadhog. The list just goes on and on and on. But when it comes to the tank versus tank matchup, which honestly I do believe is the main factor in a lot of games of Overwatch right now, it is the tank diff. And I'm not talking about skill diff. I'm just talking about selection diff. If I'm playing Roadhog and you're playing Reinhardt, it's going to be very hard for you to do anything as Reinhardt because all you're trying to do is get close to me to do damage. But I can hook you, I can do tons of damage to you and kill you in 1v1. I can run past you and kill your backline. The Reinhardt can't do any of that. Like, he is dependent on his team. The Roadhog is not. And the reason why tanks are so powerful is there's one tank now in Overwatch 2. There used to be two in Overwatch 1. This means that Blizzard consolidated the power of effectively two tanks into one hero. And the thing with Roadhog is a DPS hero just disguised as a tank. So he does tons of damage, got tons of survivability, and it is almost like easy mode when you're playing this hero. And we're going to have to wait and see what Blizzard do about this because we know they're not going to do any balance patches to the game at the moment until presumably Season 2. We could just be going into a Hog meta, which is... yeah, Roadhog. He's very, very good right now. I haven't even spoke about his ultimate. His ultimate's incredibly powerful as well. His ultimate just does oodles of damage. Oodles of damage. It is disgusting. Just play Roadhog. Trust me, guys. I'm not even a Roadhog main, and I've been playing Roadhog and getting absolutely silly scores with the hero because it is free. You can just do what you like. They have to effectively all focus you to shut you down, but even if they're doing that, the rest of your team only need to pay a bit of attention to you, and they can give you enough support for you to just carry on doing whatever you want to do. Massively OP hero. So talking of massively OP heroes, we move on to Sojourn. This is a hero that should have been nerfed in the mid-season patch. It isn't, which is absolutely mental. This hero, there's been teased a nerf coming for the hero in Season 2, but unfortunately, she is just massively powerful. Now, all of her power is effectively centralized in Railgun's damage. Railgun has a massive crit shot multiplier, so it will kill pretty much any other DPS and almost all the supports. In fact, I think it does kill all the supports. Yeah, whatever. It just kills most people anyway with a fully charged railgun. This is because it's got a massive crit shot multiplier. She can hold on to this railgun charge for 8 seconds, which is crazy because you just spam primary fire, get your charge, and then wait and go, okay, I'll try and kill someone. And it's very easy to charge primary fire because all you do is fire it into tanks or into barriers and you just get the charge, or you just spray it in the enemy team's general direction and then try and get a kill with the railgun. Now, I do agree, at lower ranks, Sojourns will be missing shots. But this is the thing I'll come at people when they say, oh, well, Sojourn at the lower ranks is just like whatever. Actually, Sojourn is better than Cassidy. She's better than Soldier 76. She effectively deletes them out of the game. Even Ashe as well, I'd argue. Why play those heroes when you can play Sojourn? Because Sojourn has such a... And Widow as well. You can even throw Widow in this. Why play those heroes when Sojourn brings to the table what they bring to the table, but it's more effective, but wait for this, has got a ton more mobility, and in 5v5 mobility is key. This hero is totally broke, and it is a major balance oversight that they haven't looked at the hero and reduced its railgun power for this mid-season cycle patch, or mid-cycle season patch, whatever they're calling it. Basically a patch for the last 2 weeks of the season. It is mental. They need to fix this, and I hope that they do. Because right now, if you are looking to play a hit scan hero, I know a primary fire is projectile, but all of the power is derived from the alternate fire railgun hit scan. You just play this hero, right? I mean, okay, I'm that guy. I'll play Cassidy, I'll play Soldier because I enjoy playing them, but I know deep down that I should just play Sojourn. And it's not a great feeling, so she needs to be fixed. But as you get higher up the ladder, Sojourn is in every game, and those guys have got cracked aim. They will just delete you from the map, and it's not a great feeling. In fact, like I've said in previous videos, if you go and look at the top 500 list for damage, Sojourn is, she's just full of it. Yeah, oh dear me. Next up in the S tier, I'm going to go for Winston. Now, I was going to go for D.Va here, but Winston edges out D.Va. This is for dive tank, I will say as well. I wouldn't really want to play a Winston into a Roadhog on a map that isn't, let's say, Gibraltar or Dorado. Because if you're trying to play the Winston on like Ilios or something into a Roadhog, oh dear, this is going to be, you're going to have to be you're basically going to have to be 10 times better than the Roadhog player to get any kind of value. But when it comes to dive, if we are playing on Gibraltar, Winston, it absolutely wins. Now why? This is the thing. Winston is actually super tanky himself. Doesn't do a lot of damage, which is obviously always been the way for Winston, but Winston's barrier can just win fights. If you place that barrier in the right place, it's the end of healing for that team. If you drop it on an Ana, or you drop it in a position where Kiriko or whoever else can't actually get effective heals onto their team, you will just win fight after fight after fight. He's a lot more technical to play than Roadhog, but he is definitely an S plus mega meta tier when it comes to dive comms, if that's what your team are playing, and especially if you're playing on maps with a ton of verticality. So I would entertain Winston. And of course, his ultimate has always been pretty decent as well. But yeah, Roadhog is definitely the best tank right now, but I still think that Winston is he's up there, right? He's still S tier in my mind. Okay, I think I'm going to leave the S tier at that for the moment, but I might make one change, but we'll wait and see. I may decide to change my mind throughout the video. Anyway, let's just go for D.Va in the very good tier. Now, I was thinking about D.Va at S tier, but then I went for Winston. But the thing with D.Va is you've got to remember, D.Va has been nerfed. So D.Va's burst damage has been heavily nerfed in this patch. So fusion cannons, the spread has increased from 3.5 to 3.75. Booster's impact damage reduced from 25 to 15. And apparently that this was fixed in a previous update. Cormac's ultimate cost has been reduced by 12%, so maybe a little buff there. But D.Va is... it's too easy to do damage to D.Va, and D.Va is too reliant on her team to keep her operational. And with D.Va's loss of damage, this means it's going to be a lot more difficult for D.Va to go in on somebody and try and kill them. I'll tell you guys right now, I've been having quite a bit of success playing Soldier 76 into D.Va, because D.Va's finding it difficult to kill him. Even though she's a tank, and even though she's got souped up damage, these nerfs actually mean Soldier's quite happy firing away into that D.Va, and she is a very nice ult battery. I think out of all of the tanks, she's a pretty nice ult battery D.Va is. But why have I put her in very good tier and not the lower tiers? She still is highly maneuverable. She still can be super effective if she gets into positions to isolate enemy DPS or isolate enemy supports. She's actually kind of okay going against certain tanks. Like if you take the D.Va against the Winston, you're going to win that fight. But if you take the D.Va against the Roadhog, you're dead. Basically, if you take any other tank apart from a Roadhog against the Roadhog, you're dead. But D.Va, yeah, she can bully Reinhardt. She can bully a lot of the other tanks. I think Orisa has a bit of success against D.Va, but you shouldn't really be facing up against Orisa if you're playing D.Va. Now, D.Va's defense matrix is nowhere near as good as Winston's bubble in this game. There was a time where defense matrix was incredibly powerful because it was super long and all of that, and that was back in Overwatch 1. Now, though, defense matrix is, yeah, it's got a longer duration in Overwatch 2 now compared to its versions in late Overwatch 1. But barriers just stop all damage and all healing going through, and it's the healing which is the killer thing for the barriers, whereas D.Va struggles with that a little bit. And I think with D.Va as well, I think she's almost got a positional problem where peel is this idea of going towards your back line or your vulnerable targets and peeling for them. D.Va is great for this because she's got high mobility and you put defense matrix on them. But the problem is with D.Va, you want to be killing the enemy. You want to be isolating targets, not in your back line. If you're in your back line, your team are losing out on a ton of potential damage because you're not doing damage. So D.Va's like in this position where you just just be aggressive with D.Va. You don't really peel for your backline as much as maybe you would have in Overwatch 1. But yeah, I still think her damage, I still think her mobility, her ultimate again is okay, but I just think her damage and mobility still keeps her in a very good tier, and the fact that she can bully a lot of the other tanks, I think is a pretty major bonus for D.Va. So I wouldn't be worried if you're a D.Va player, you can still play her. Just be aware if you're playing into a Roadhog. Okay, next up we're going to go for Zen, and I'm going to put Zen in a very good tier. Discord is a highly undervalued ability. Discord is one of the great counters to the big bad Roadhog. Because you can't remove Discord. He got Discord on him, he's going to get Discord on him all the time, and then you can maybe burn him down. But Discord itself is just super, incredibly powerful. It's the, I would say, the best tank counter in the game at the moment, beyond a Kiriko, Kitsune Rush with a Reaper running at you, destroying you. Yeah, he's so good. His healing isn't obviously great because he's Zen, he doesn't have the best healing, but Zen's damage potential again is incredibly good. Zen, if you're playing Zen right, you can deal with flankers pressuring you. You can also output a ton of damage to the enemy team. Again, Zen is kind of similar in some ways to Roadhog being just DPS in a tank disguise. Zen is kind of DPS in a support disguise, although Zen does have decent healing. The thing with Zen's healing is think of it like this: it's only small amounts of healing on the Orb of Harmony, but it's always healing that target. So it's great on a Genji, it's great on a fast moving target. It's really good supplementing your tank or supplementing your other support if you need to keep them alive and whatnot. But Zen is really good. Like, the thing with Zen is, this is going to sound really crazy, but eliminations are mega powerful in Overwatch, and if you can secure eliminations from a character that, or rather from a role that typically isn't as elimination heavy as the other roles, then it's a very big bonus to your team. But like I said, be under no illusions here. It is Discord Orb, which is the power of Zen. It is massively powerful, and we might start seeing Zen rising to the top of the support meta because you need him to kill Roadhog. So if you're playing Zen, yeah, just Discord that Roadhog, and I think it'll be absolute good times for you. Okay, I think we'll go with another tank. We'll go with Sigma. Sigma, he's the best barrier tank if you ignore Winston, but we're going to call Winston a dive tank. Sigma's the best barrier tank. He can deploy his barrier, can do damage at the same time. This is really good. He can do range damage as well, which is also really good. It's not super range, it's short range damage, but it's short range AoE damage from his balls, which is great. Which, you know, this is fine. You can use Sigma to push. Sigma can deny Widowmakers and other hit scan from having access to your team. He's kind of okay at dealing with a Sojourn, because if you're cycling your barrier enough, you can stop the Sojourn from having free shots into your backline. And yeah, his ultimate is really good. So Sigma is, like, if I've got a Sigma on my team, I'm not too worried. If I've got a Sigma into a Roadhog, obviously I'm worried. But if I've got like a Sigma into Reinhardt, we're winning. If we've got a Sigma into an Orisa, I'm taking that. I don't mind it. A Sigma into a Zarya, yeah, I'm taking it. I don't mind it. So this is why I'm kind of looking at him as like the third best tank in the game. If you need that barrier, then pick the Sigma, because I think beyond that, you just need to be the Roadhog, or you need to be the dive Winston, really. You can go for the D.Va as well, I say, but I mean, I guess I should reorder this, because I think Sigma is... I don't think I can. There we go. Sigma is... If this is in order... Well, it's not going to be in order, but in order of the tanks, let's say, Sigma would be the third choice, then D.Va the fourth choice. So Sigma's fine. I think slow and steady, advancing with the team. Suffers obviously because he doesn't have crazy movement, but if you've got a Lucio, your movement problem is solved, etc, etc, etc. So I think he is okay, and he's still a solid pick. I think as well Orisa is okay. Like, the tanks, there are three tanks who are kind of bad, but these tanks that you can all see on the screen right now are not bad. I think you can kind of get away with playing any of them, unless, as I keep saying in this video, you are playing into a Roadhog and that Roadhog is playing well, which doesn't really take much effort. Then you're going to have a bit of a problem. Now, Orisa is effective against a D.Va, if the D.Va is anywhere near the Orisa. Is effective against a Sigma, because you can put a lot of pressure on him. Effective against a Winston, again, because you can hit him with your spear to knock him about. You can... He doesn't do any damage to you anyway. You can burn through his barrier at range. There's a lot you can do. I think Orisa is going to be one of those heroes that may go up a little bit in tier. Maybe she goes to S tier at some point. She was the one I was thinking about maybe going into S tier. But I think that at the moment, I'm not too sure about that. But I think she's going to be a pretty solid pick. But this is definitely something that could change in the future. What I will say about Orisa is I don't think her ultimate is that good. If you can catch people off guard with it, yeah. The thing is, though, there's a lot people can do to deal with it. You know, you could throw a Baptiste lamp into it. You can even block the damage the ultimate does with barriers. If the Reinhardt's in the ultimate, he can block the barrier. Winston can drop his bubble. There's a lot you can do. So Suzu, obviously, as well, can protect you from its damage. Yeah, but I think just the moment-to-moment gameplay, you're putting out quite a lot of high consistent damage. You've got that spike damage from your spear, and you're very tanky yourself. Again, you suffer from movement speed problems. I know you get a movement speed increase when you go for the javelin spin, but you know, if you've got a Lucio, generally that problem gets cured. So I think she's okay, Orisa, and maybe she'll go up in time if players can sort of work out how to deal with Roadhog with her, but I'm not too sure you actually can. I think the only way to deal with Roadhog, as I said, is Discord Orb on him and play another Roadhog into him, and everyone just kill him. That's probably it. Okay, this one is completely out of left field. This is Echo, and I'm completely basing this on what I've seen high-level players do with Echo. I don't play Echo. In fact, I'm really bad with Echo. But Echo has got this sort of niche she fits into where she can just... You can have 2 tanks on your team. So her ultimate, in a lot of ways, if played well, is basically a free fight win every single time. If the enemy team's got a Roadhog and you clone the Roadhog, and you've also got a Roadhog, you've got 2 Roadhogs. I mean, that is really, really good. Also, her movement, I think, is very underrated. If you play her well, you can be very difficult to hit. She's very hard to hit anyway. It's much easier to hit Pharah in the air than it would be Echo. Echo's highly maneuverable. Her beam as well, it's anti-tank. You know, we talk about killing Roadhog. Imagine Discord or Orb on Roadhog, and everyone's doing damage to him. He goes under 50% health, and then you beam him with Echo. You're doing even more damage because it does more damage to targets under 50% health, and you're killing him. So I think she's a bit of a sleeper, and I'm going to put her at very good if you can play her. You just don't see much Echo. She must be the least played hero in the game, and I think a lot of people get worried when the enemy have got a hit scan. It's like, oh no, Echo's just going to die. But do remember, Echo's movement is on any plane of direction. It isn't just up in the air like Pharah. She can just dive in any direction, which is really good, and you can get out of bad positions with it. So I would not be sleeping on Echo. I just don't think there's enough Echo players out there to make her... Like, it's almost a shock, isn't it, when you see Echo? It's like, oh, look, there's an Echo on the enemy team. But I think she's still pretty good. I think she's pretty good based off what I've seen anyway. Okay, this is totally a Stylosa simp pick. I like Soldier 76, and I haven't been playing too much of him in the Zarya meta. However, I think because Zarya has been nerfed, and remember, Zarya's bubbles are now nerfed, so her power level's not great, and also D.Va's damage has been nerfed. I think Soldier is very good against D.Va, and I think he's good against all of the other tanks as well now, because there isn't really anything which is going to prevent him from doing damage or making him doing damage negative. Because if you're blasting into the Zarya and she pops a bubble up, it's like, what do you do? Do you wait for the bubble to go, or do you just try and burn through it? Well, if you try and burn through it, she might have another bubble ready to go, and you've basically given her a ton of charge. You've given her like 80 charge if you're blasting through both her bubbles. It's not great, right? Now, that's not really a problem because the bubble's not as good, and I don't think we're going to see much Zarya anyway. So this guy, yeah, it's hard for D.Va to deal with you. Even if Winston jumps on you, you can run away, and you've got that consistent damage output again. And I just think Soldier, I don't know, like I'm probably sniffing the Soldier Kool-Aid here, but I think he is not a sleeper pick, but I think he's one of the best hit scan at the moment. Obviously, he's nowhere near the level of Sojourn. If you can play Sojourn, play her, honestly. Just she's on a different planet to Soldier. But I think if you're fancying a bit of Soldier and maybe the enemy team doesn't have a Sojourn or something, and you can get away with it, then sure. Because the thing with Sojourn is she will just kill you instantly, and you've got to really be worried about that. And I guess the other hero in that capacity is Widow. You've got to be careful of Widow, because if Widow's just going to headshot you and kill you, you obviously can't take her on at range. Ashe can be a little bit problematic as well. But I do think Soldier does fit into 5v5 quite well. He's got a ton of movement. He's got self-sustain with his healing. In a lot of ways, Soldier doesn't really depend on his team to do stuff. Like, it's okay that Sojourn... if you've got a Kiriko on your team and she drops Kitsune Rush, yeah, it feels great to have super fast firing rate and all of that. It feels great to have Lucio giving you speed boost and just general speed, but you kind of don't need it. You kind of are independent. So Soldier, I think, is actually fairly decent. And his ultimate as well. I know everyone clowns on his ultimate for just being an aimbot. It's like, oh, this is cheesy. You just pop your aimbot. Remember, you can still headshot while the ultimate's active, but it kind of defeats the point of it because you do need to sort of aim. Well, it doesn't, because even if you miss, you still hit. Just not a critical hit. But it's good, because if we're going to see maybe less Zarya, you're not going to be charging her up if she's in the way. and also maybe a little bit less diva because of her nerfs, then yeah, that's great, because she's the only one that could really counter you. Okay, you could get a Baptiste lamp, could prevent some of the damage going down. You could have like a Reinhardt protecting his team with a barrier and stuff, but I'm talking like reactionary counters that basically stop the entire damage output of your ult. They're not as prevalent as they were before, so I think Soldier, pretty good pick, although I might be smoking the Soldier special pipe. What does that even mean? Anyway, whatever. Soldier, let's go. Okay, Reaper. Now, I think things are going to get kind of... they're going to get a bit... it's going to get a bit busy, I think, on this A tier. Because the more I look at the heroes, I'm like, these heroes are... A lot of them are really good, and some of them are just outrageously bad. There isn't really, like, any middle ground. It's like, good heroes, bad heroes. Anyway, Reaper. Oh, what do I even need to say about Reaper? So, Reaper is... devastating. His self-sustain while he's doing damage is incredible. You're playing support, Reaper is like, he's very easy to keep alive. He's also got a decent amount of health as well for a DPS hero. His movement is something that I think we do need to talk about. While yes, you can flank with teleport, and okay, Wraith form is great for getting out of bad situations, his movement still is his weakness. But remember, because we've got Kiriko and because we've got Lucio, his movement woes are gone. If you can get Reaper, and it's always been this way, if you can get Reaper into the enemy's face, he will kill everybody. Literally everybody will die. It's very hard to stop him unless he is just walking at your team and everyone's shooting him. If he picks his targets right, he can decimate a team. His ultimate as well is amazingly good when he's inside an enemy team, because you don't know what's going on. It's like, oh god, there's a Reaper. If you're playing a Roadhog and the Reaper just rushes through past the Roadhog, and maybe he's in the middle of a Kitsune rush as well, and he's just doing tons of damage, it's like, oh my god, what's going on? And then he pops his ultimate. Who's going to stop the damage off that? It's like unstoppable train of Reaper. The damage is massive. And again, and I hate to say this, but Reaper, you get a lot of value for a lot less input than you would, let's say, on, well, I guess we'll just use the heroes I've got on the screen at the moment, like a Soldier potentially, or the heroes that I'm going to put in a second, like, I guess actually the Torb is probably a nice little counterpart to the Reaper. Torb's a lot more difficult to get more value than it will be with the Reaper, because it's a more straightforward proposition, right? But even anybody like Ashe, Widow, whatever, Hanzo, it doesn't matter. Reaper just gets a lot more value because he just goes in there and destroys people. And Reaper's damage is so massive at the point blank range. He's one of the only heroes that can take out a tank in 1v1 when he's got support. So it's not really a 1v1, but you imagine going into a fight and you just rush down that Roadhog and you're just piling all the damage into him and you're getting support from your team, you will kill him. And it will be the deciding factor in the fight if you can kill the enemy tank. And again, the tanks are the power in Overwatch 2 at the moment. And if you're playing a hero that can remove a tank from the game, that is incredibly powerful. So Reaper, very, very strong. I think while we're on that as well, we're going to put Torb up in this tier as well. Now, Torb is like a mini Reaper, just with a ranged attack. That's the way to look at him. Torb is surprisingly annoying when he pops his overload and comes running at you and just starts bloody blasting you away, especially with his alternate fire, his shotgun. Especially if you're playing tank, it can be frustrating. Torb, though, instead of having all this power in the close range damage like Reaper, has got the long range poke. Now, the long range poke can secure kills. Also, he's got his turret, which can be annoying and which is absolutely broke in Overwatch 2 and can be abused on so many different maps. Blizzard really do need to fix that. So maybe we see this guy as the next hero being removed from the game while he gets fixed. But Torb is just a mini Reaper. But I think having that explosive close range damage is again so powerful, and because Torb can make himself more tankier with overload, and obviously with Kiriko and Lucio, as I keep saying, they remove a lot of his weaknesses and Torb can just get in there and start dealing with the enemy tank. It makes him really, really strong. His ultimate is whatever, like Torb's ultimate is it's not great. I don't think it's pretty easy to play around, but yeah, I still think he's a pretty good, well, he's a very good pick. Okay, I'm going to put Ana in the very good tier, just because I really love the power level of Grenade. I think Grenade is so powerful. You can lob this into the enemy team and it will just wreck them. However, if the enemy team have got a Kiriko that knows what they're doing, she will just undo your grenade. So this kind of does make me think that she should go down into playable. But I still think Ana, gives a... Oh, no, you know what? We are going to put her in playable. And the reason for this is because Genji's been nerfed. So the Nano Genji, Nano Blade is just kind of crap now because Genji is absolutely not a great pick at the moment. So I think Ana is suffering in that regard. Ana suffers because Kiriko can remove a lot of her abilities. She can remove anti-heal. She can wake targets up from sleep. But Ana still brings to the table a massive amount of healing output. And also, Kiriko's not going to remove every single anti-nade. And if Kiriko isn't in the game, you're not even playing against Kiriko, your nade's going to get a massive amount of value. And again, it is one of the only things that can wreck Roadhog. But like I said, and I keep saying, can be countered by Kiriko with Suzu. But if she's not in the game, then you are going to get value. So, I don't know. Ana kind of bounces between very good and playable. I think it depends on what you're playing against. If there is a Kiriko on the enemy team and it knows what it's doing, it can make your life hell. But if there isn't, you can play Ana and get a ton of value. In terms of nano targets, obviously Genji, Dragon Blade is always going to be okay to hit with the nano. But I think there's, Soldier is, I think, now a really good pick if you do have him on your team for nano. I think, obviously, a nano Reaper would be crazy. Nano in any of the tanks is crazy powerful. Yeah, nano in Sojourn, ooh, everyone loves that. So, yeah, it's just, like, I still think she's good, but it's almost like she exists between A and B, I think, depending on what the enemy team are playing. I do think, though, Baptiste. So, Baptiste, I was going to put him in playable, but actually, I'm going to put Baptiste in very good, because I don't think Baptiste suffers from the, Kiriko deletes all of my abilities syndrome, and Baptiste does surprising amounts of damage. He is fairly difficult to play because you do have to swap between damage and healing quite often. But Lamp is an incredible ability and always will be an incredible ability. His healing output is pretty good. The fact that he gives you burst healing on his regenerative field, and then regenerative field gives you heal over time, is really powerful. And the fact it heals you as well is really good. It's a very strong AoE heal. His secondary fire, which is his primary heal, you can call it, again, is really powerful. Again, you have to land the shots, but yeah. His ultimate is fine because you just be selfish with it and use it for yourself, because nobody ever expects that like increased damage from the Baptiste. As soon as you drop window, it's like, oh no, where is he? And then he's firing damage into your team. You can just remove enemy DPS and supports with it, which is really powerful. But again, in this 5v5 world, you can deal with people coming to harass you and trying to kill you because you're Baptiste. You can jump up in the air with your passive. You can heal yourself. You can actually do considerable damage back to whoever is trying to kill you. I just think Baptiste has got a lot of options in this game, and I think he deals with he can deal with a lot of different situations. And that's why I'm going to put him in A, because I don't think you can't stop Baptiste from doing Baptiste things. You just have to kill him, right? Okay, Winston can put a barrier down and that's going to stop the heals going through. But beyond that, it's like you can't really stop Baptiste. Whereas Ana, you can stop Ana. So before this mid-season patch, I would have put Ana probably above Baptiste, but I think they probably would have still been on the same tier. But not now. I think we need to change where they are. Cassidy. Okay, I'm going to say Cassidy's playable. Now, I often like to aim these tier lists and any kind of like little tips and sort of discussion and advice and whatever I do to players masters and below. I'm not going to be talking to GM players. Those guys know everything about the game anyway. They don't need to listen to me or whatever. Maybe they do, I don't know. But I think Cassidy is one of those heroes where masters and below, I think he's fine. But I think when you start getting up to the higher tiers, you're just going to get annihilated by Sojourn. You can't play this hero because you don't have the same kill potential. You just don't. Yeah, it is satisfying to play Cassidy. Yeah, it is great to land the shots. But all of Cassidy's power is in his primary fire. His secondary fire is okay. But if you're using his secondary fire a lot, you're probably in a bad position, which means a lot of the enemy tank or other enemy DPS have got pretty easy access to you, which you never really want. Cassidy's grenade is a bit of a gimmick, if I'm honest. It's an ability which is powerful at lower ranks when people get too close to you, but at higher ranks, they're not going to get close to you. They're going to start playing Ashe. They're going to start playing a Sojourn, and they're just going to kill you at range, and it's going to be difficult for you to deal with that. So while I think he's fun to play, I think he is a bit, can I say this, boring, a bit one-dimensional. I think his grenade rework is just not great. It doesn't even fit with a cowboy, does it? It's like, no, he's got a sticky grenade. What's going on there? I don't know. And his role is like, whatever. He suffers with movement problems, but again, Lucio can kind of deal with that for him. But I just think there are a lot of other picks to him. But you can play him. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you can play any hero on this list, really, up till a certain point. But you are going to suffer as you start getting up through the ranks. You will get bodied by Widows, by Ashes, and definitely by Sojourns. Okay, talking of Ashe, we've got to put her in a very good tier as well. She's just got better range damage than Cassidy. She's nowhere near as good as Sojourn, but she's not bad. She's got decent movement. Her ultimate as well, Bob, is surprisingly quite good. Again, remember, if Bob gets put to sleep, your Kiriko can sort him out. Throw a Suzu at him and he'll get back up again. So Bob, yeah, I think is an effective ultimate. I think she's got good vertical mobility with a coach gun. I think a dynamite is maybe a little bit underrated at the moment. But her damage potential is great. Again, her weakness is if you get her in close combat, you're probably going to kill her, right? If a Cassidy meets an Ashe in close combat, he's going to kill her because he's going to throw the sticky grenade at her and then shoot her. But it's getting to that thing. At lower ranks, yeah, it happens a lot. At higher ranks, it won't, because Ashe will have a good position and just kill you before you even get anywhere near her. So I think Ashe is pretty good. Would I play her over Soldier 76? Probably. I think she's better than Soldier at the moment, but I do think Soldier's kind of okay. But none of this matters because Sojourn is just the best by far in every single categorical way you can think of. She is the best hit scan. So yeah, but Ashe is okay, right? Well, in fact, she's very good. So if you're playing her, don't worry. Okay, this one might be a bit hot, a bit of a hot take. Widow is a bit hot, but it's going to be a bit of a hot take. This is... I'm going to put Widow in B playable. Now, let me explain this. I think Widow can exist in the very good tier as well. On certain maps. I think Widow struggles when you are trying to take her on any map that isn't Casino, that isn't I guess she's kind of okay on Dorado as well. She's okay on Gibraltar, especially on the shuttle on the first point. Basically, if you've got Junkertown as well, obviously I've got to forget about that map, but she is mega incredibly powerful on those maps. You could even say that she's S+. You have to pick her on those maps. But on the other maps, she's going to struggle. She's going to struggle if she's in any kind of close combat with anyone. Now, again, there is a massive caveat with Widow. If you've got cracked Widow aim, you can just play her anywhere because you're just going to land shot after shot after shot. Because remember, there's less tanks in this game. Tanks like D.Va are nerfed, so you'll probably see them less. It's going to be easy for you to land shots. Genji's nerfed as well, so you're probably going to see less Genji. Tracer's not really any good in the game anyway, so you're not going to see many Tracers harassing you. So there is a lot of time where you will get free Widow play, but I still think she is a bit map dependent, at least as I say, Masters and below. You don't really want to play her like if you take her on Ilios, okay. Ruins, she's really great, and Ilios is probably the best, the quintessential example of this. On Ruins, on Ilios, great, because you've got range, you've got a great position to set up. But then you take her on like Lighthouse, maybe not as good. You get where I'm going with this, or on Well, not as good. So she can be mega strong, she can be mega weak. She's very situational. If you're playing Hitscan and you're playing Sojourn, or maybe you're playing a lot of Ashe or whatever, on those longer range maps, do consider whipping out the Widow, and you'll probably see a lot of good success from it, because the enemy are going to find it hard to get to you and actually deal with you, and you're going to scare them away as well, which is actually pretty powerful. All right, next up I'm going to put Genji into the playable tier. Now, I've said before, Genji has been nerfed, and he's kind of been nerfed into oblivion, and I think he has, but I still think Genji has he still has a place in the game. I just think Genji is going to suffer against more team comps now, because he's not going to be as able to get in and get kills as fast as he could. So obviously Moira has always been an issue for Genji. He's going to suffer even more with Moira now, because he just does less damage, so he's not even going to be able to deal with that. Brig is going to be able to push him away easier, because again, he does less damage. He's less of a threat. And this is kind of the story of Genji. He's just less of a threat. In the moment-to-moment gameplay, Genji has lost almost all of his power because his damage has been so heavily nerfed. So what they've done to his damage is maximum ammo has been reduced from 30 to 24, and damage has been reduced from 29 to 27. So you are almost going back to a blade bot with Genji, and you're going to find it harder to take 1v1s. You're going to find it harder to, I guess, enjoy the main Genji gameplay. I can't say that. Genji gameplay, which again I think is another weird reason. I just don't understand why they've nerfed him as heavily as they have. I mean, I get that it is frustrating if Genji's killing your whole team over and over again, but this is almost like a nerf that he could be into a niche pick tier as well. But I'm going to leave him at playable just for now, because I still think Blade is going to still get quite a lot of value, and good Genji players will be still able to get some stuff done. But I just think that there's just better picks than Genji now. Maybe not in the flanker role, actually, which is an interesting point, unless you class Reaper as a flanker, in which case Reaper is a lot better pick than a Genji. But if you compare Genji and Tracer, those are the go-to flankers, I guess. He's much better than Tracer, I'd say, at the moment. Well, much better. I'd say he's a tier above Tracer. I think Tracer suffers, but we'll get onto Tracer in a minute, so don't worry about that. Well, I said we'll get onto it in a minute, but we're just going to do it now. So I'm going to put Tracer as a niche pick. Now, this is because Tracer's damage nerf, which happened ages ago now in Overwatch 2, means she has to do an extra reload to kill a lot of the supports if she's going to take them on in the back line. Now, this actually is quite a lot because it's extra downtime. It's doing damage, then you've got to reload before you secure those one-click kills, which you could get in the past. Now, it's a lot harder to do that. Her ultimate, I still think, is okay. Pulse Bomb can just, that can win fights. You can just go in and assassinate a target with it, and it is powerful for that. There are a lot of ways you can play around it, though. Again, even more now with Kiriko. But Tracer's reliance on getting close to the enemy without any kind of... it's hard to support Tracer because she's not like Genji, where Genji can spam away from range. Tracer can't do that. She needs to be on top of the enemy. Tracer has to rely on her own movement to get back to health packs, to keep her alive, to re-engage, to position well so she can be healed by her supports. I just think she needs, Tracer needs to do more damage, but I get why Blizzard are a little bit hesitant to buff Tracer's damage, because if you give her too much of a damage buff, then she just becomes meta and just kills everyone, because you don't want her going in and killing the supports, because as we know, support is the most difficult role in the game right now, and if you're buffing people like Tracer, then it's going to be problematic. And again, this is probably why Genji has been nerfed, because Genji is just going in on the back line and killing you supports over and over again, or killing your supports, I should say, over and over again. And I've been the receiver of that, and you don't really want Tracer doing that, but also I think she's just so weak at the moment. Well, no, she's not weak. She's a niche pick. That's why I've put her at C tier. So yeah, Tracer does need a bit of love, really. I wouldn't really recommend the Tracer at the moment. So going back to the B tier, let's go to Zarya. Now, Zarya was S meta, mega, super amazing tier for all of Overwatch 2's life so far, but now she's been nerfed. However, she might actually still be kind of okay. So her nerf duration has been reduced from 2.5 to 2 seconds on particle barrier, and the cooldown is increased from 10 to 11 seconds. And it's also the same for projected barrier. Of course, projected is when you put it on someone, and particle barrier is when you put it on yourself. Of course, you can decide to give yourself 2 particle barriers, or you can put 2 projected barriers. But generally, with Zarya, you just forget about your team. You just use it on yourself. You might use one on your team if they're about to die, but yeah, you basically keep them for yourself. What this means is Zarya will get less charge, which means it will be more difficult for Zarya to laser people down, which means it will be easier for enemy supports to heal targets that are being attacked by Zarya, which means Zarya has lost quite a lot actually, of lethality. This could mean Zarya is doing basically nothing in a fight, whereas you look at the tanks I've put above, the Orisa has got that spike damage potential with the spear with the primary fire. The Roadhog can eat you for breakfast and literally delete you instantly from the game. He has the highest spike damage. Even the Sigma is doing more effective damage, I think, in a lot of ways. Winston's probably the only outlier that's not doing any more damage than a Zarya, I would say. But even then, maybe Winston is. It's just not as much damage in terms of burst. So I think Zarya is going to struggle. Graviton Surge is still a really good ultimate. But I just think she's probably going to sit in the playable tier. I don't think she's going to go into very good, and she's definitely not S tier anymore. But Zarya, if you're a Zarya main, I would give her a go and see what happens. We need to see what this damage feels like. But from what I've experienced, it is quite a heavy nerf to your damage because you just can't get as much charge. So yeah, be aware of that. I'm going to put Hanzo in the playable tier as well. Now, Hanzo's had no changes, but I think because Hanzo is kind of like a poor man's Sojourn. He can still kill you from across the map. And in a lot of ways, Hanzo is fairer than Sojourn, because Sojourn is hit scan. If she clicks on you, you die. Hanzo has to sort of predict where you're going. And yeah, I know it's frustrating if a Hanzo arrow kills you from across the map. But I still think he's still capable of fulfilling that role. His mobility's okay as well. Wall climb's always been decent. Storm arrows is okay. Sonic arrows fine as well. His ultimate is okay. Obviously way better if used with Zarya, Graviton, but yeah, I think he's okay. I think he's playable. I think with less flank, so the issue I've got in my head with Hanzo and the way I see it when I play him is if I'm getting harassed a lot with flankers, or if the enemy team have got like a cracked Widow or even like a really good Sojourn, then it can be frustrating to play Hanzo. But if they don't have any of those heroes, especially if they don't have flankers, if nothing is harassing me at close range, then I feel like I can do quite a lot. Because you can do considerable damage to enemy tanks. You can still kill most of the DPS with a headshot. You can still kill most of the not the tanks with a headshot. Most of the supports with all the supports with a headshot. So Hanzo is decent, right? But again, you have to be able to play Hanzo. So don't just think, oh yeah, Hanzo, I'm going to play him and I'm going to be okay. Because no, if you're a hit scan player and you're just suddenly trying to play Hanzo, it's a completely different skill set. It's projectile now. You need to lead shots, predict where people are going. It can be difficult, but I still think he's okay. Just because he's got that kill potential. That's the main reason I'm putting him in the B tier. Okay, let's go for another niche pick. Let's go for Reinhardt. Oh, C tier Rein. Look, listen, the issue I've got with Reinhardt is he's just a hero from a bygone game. He's a hero designed for Overwatch 1 that they haven't really changed enough for Overwatch 2. 2 fire strikes is just boring and not great. It doesn't do a lot of damage. Okay, it's designed to charge your ultimate. Your ultimate is free a lot of the time in this game, which can be fight winning, but is it worth playing a tank that's just got an ultimate every now and again, which may win a fight? His close range damage, I mean, against the Roadhog, he's just dead. It's difficult to get him into fights. You can argue that Kiriko and Lucio can remove that weakness from him, but I don't know why you would play him over a Hog or a Winston. Definitely, there's just no planet you play him over a Roadhog. Even if you distill this down to 1v1s, Roadhog versus Reinhardt, Reinhardt's dead. Like, who does Reinhardt beat in a 1v1 scenario? I think the issue with Rein I've got, the more I think about this, is Rein is too reliant on his team. If the team support the Reinhardt and the Reinhardt plays ultra aggressive, things can happen, right? There are top 500 Reinhardt mains out there. You can make it work. But I'm sort of looking at this from a perspective of how much you get out from how much you put in. And you need to put a lot in to get Reinhardt to work. Whereas Roadhog is independent and can go and secure kills. Reinhardt can secure kills, but needs a ton of support to make it happen. In fact, all the other tanks can basically secure kills easier than Reinhardt, I think. Maybe with the exception of Doomfist. I don't know. But I just think Reinhardt is... it's so sad because Reinhardt was basically the first hero I mained in Overwatch 1 through Season 1 and Season 2 of competitive. I was playing him in Grandmaster and I was really enjoying Reinhardt. Well, Season 2 and 3 I was in Grandmaster, I think. Season 1 was numbers, wasn't it? It was like, you got a weird number, if anyone even remembers that. But yeah, Blizzard, you've got to do something to Reinhardt. He just doesn't feel like an Overwatch 2 hero. He's terrible. Sort it out, Blizz. Okay, let's go for our first weak pick here. Let's go for Doomfist. Yeah, he's just not very good, I don't think. Like, again, you have to put so much into Doomfist to get anything out of him. It's not really worth the effort all the time to actually do it. You may as well just play any of the other tanks. Doomfist is a dive tank with no damage. That's crazy. And his movement is also not really that great. This hero needs an overhaul, a complete rework. Again, it's a hero that very clearly needed buffs and very clearly hasn't been given buffs in any of this mid-season patch, which is just crazy. Like, if you're looking at the hero roster, he is in desperate need of a buff. Sojourn is in desperate need of a nerf, yet none of them were touched. I mean, there's the crazy things like Junkrat's trap has been nerfed. I mean, what the hell, Blizzard? Why are you nerfing Junkrat's trap when there's these other issues that need to be sorted? It's just bad, guys. His ultimate is bad. His punch doesn't do anything. His block is just, you just ignore it. It just isn't great. He suffers. He suffers. Doomfist. You need to rework him, Blizz, in quite a lot, in a massive way, really, or give him huge buffs. I just don't know. Let me know actually in the comments below if you are a Doomfist main and you're getting any success. What I will say is Doomfist is the only character when I get him on my team as a tank, I'm like, oh no. Every other character you just don't care, but Doomfist is like, oh no, not Doomfist. Because it's like, well, maybe Ball is another one as well where I'm like, oh no. JunkerQueen, oh no, I don't know. We'll get on to JunkerQueen in a minute, but yeah, Doomfist, oh no, he's not in a good place. All right, Mercy, let's do Mercy. I'm going to put Mercy in playable. Now, I think Mercy's really good in Overwatch 2, and I think she's really good in 5v5. High mobility is fantastic. Res is really powerful as well. Her healing is okay. The only thing I always moan about with Mercy is I just wish she had some sort of burst heal, because that, I think, really holds her back, because I've played some Mercy. I don't play a ton of Mercy, but I can imagine it's kind of frustrating when you're healing a target and you're just watching the target slowly be killed because you can't actually heal it enough, and then it just dies and you're like, oh no. Then you try to maybe go for a res. But I think she's fine. Like, I think she's totally fine. I don't, if I've got a Mercy on my team, I'm not going out there like, oh, we're going to lose. We need a better support. We don't. I think she's fine. I think she's absolutely fine. Obviously, you know, I would prefer a Kiriko and a Lucio, but if I had like an Ana and a Mercy, it's fine. A Baptiste and a Mercy, it's fine. And a Mercy and a Kiriko, it's fine. A Mercy and a Lucio, it's fine. So she's just fine. I think she's in a pretty okay place right now. I just keep moaning about some sort of like burst heal mechanic for her, but maybe that would make her super OP. I don't know. Mercy mains, let me know in the comments below how you feel about the hero at the moment, but I do think she's really good. I just think her movement is great, and she's again very hard to kill. Not as hard as Kiriko, because Kiriko can just piece out of bad situations, whereas Mercy does rely on that Guardian Angel target, but I do think she's in a pretty good place at the moment, Mercy. Okay, Junkrat. So Junkrat, you've got to put him into a niche pick tier. He's been nerfed for some reason, Blizzard, but apparently this was fixed in a previous update, and now they're only telling us about it in this update. But basically, the arming time on Steel Trap has been increased from 0.5 to 0.75 seconds, and the trap duration is reduced from 3 to 2.5 seconds. So, okay. Great. They've nerfed Junkrat. The thing I've got with Junkrat is I think, like, if you're playing on Iconvolve first point defense, just go for it, right? You're going to get some value there because everyone's pretty much coming through a choke. You can spam nades at them. If they're stupid enough to run through the subway train or carriage on Midtown, you can just spam them with nades and kill them. Even underneath, you can spam them with nades as well. I just think, right, that he suffers with so if the enemy are playing like a hit scan heavy comp or any kind of like high mobility comp, I think Junkrat suffers actually landing good damage. But I do think Junkrat has very, very good point blank damage potential. If you're throwing concussion mines into people and you're hitting them with primary fire, you're deleting people from the game. His ultimate as well is pretty good. The problem I've got is I think he's just a little bit too easy to kill for other DPS. So I'm going to leave him as a niche pick, and I'm going to leave him as like a map dependent niche pick. I wouldn't want to play him on like I just want to, like I said, Iconvold, yeah, I'd play him on that first point defense maybe. Also on the final point of Iconvold as well, inside the castle, you can get quite a lot of effective damage because, again, if the enemy tank is just Roadhog, well, he ain't stopping damage, is he? You know, or even if it's an Orisa, okay, she can eat some of your grenades, but not a lot, you know, so you are getting a lot of damage. You can get your ultimate pretty quick. But again, it's all map dependent stuff. Like, I'm not going to play Junkrat on Junkertown, which sounds crazy because it's the map that you probably should play him on because it's where he's from, but you just wouldn't because on first point, it's way too open. You're not going to get any value there. And also as well, like on Control, you know, I would pick other DPS as well. So I think he can work in some scenarios. He's not totally trashed here, I don't think. But yeah, Junkrat. Blizzard have nerfed you for some reason. I don't know why. Okay, let's go for another weak tier hero. Let's just go for Wrecking Ball Hammond. He needs something because he's a tank that doesn't even really play with the team. He doesn't really set anything. Like, okay, I'm rambling a bit here, but he does set things up, but it's a lot harder for him to do it compared to other tanks. In some ways, it's similar to Doomfist with his empowered punch. If you want to roll through the enemy team and knock them out of position, maybe knock them towards your team, just create disruption so your team can kill them. In theory, that sounds okay, but actually in practice, never works in Overwatch 2. All you need to be doing with this hero is isolating targets, slamming them, and trying to kill them and roll out. The biggest benefit this hero has got is he's quite hard to kill. Like, unless he's being hit with Discord, unless he's just rolling up to a Reaper or whatever. If he's managing to isolate targets quite well, he can be quite effective. But it's what he's doing. Like, if he's going in there, not achieving anything and disengaging, then repeating that over and over again, it can feel like you don't have a tank on your team. And remember, in this game, your tank is the most powerful character. I'm not saying it's like the best player or whatever, but it is the most powerful character. So if you've got a tank that isn't doing enough, it's very glaringly obvious. And Hammond, I think he's the tank that really doesn't do much. He's like Doomfist. It feels like they're not doing a lot. They just sort of exist for the enemy team to shoot and get ultimate charge, which isn't a great place to be. So he needs really looking at, again, another hero that you think Blizzard would buff in this patch, but they didn't. Weird. Okay, niche pick, we're going to go for Sombra. So Sombra is nerfed, and Sombra is nerfed quite heavily. So hack, ability lockout duration reduced from 1.75 to 1.5 seconds. Hacked enemies are no longer valid targets for hacking for the duration of the 8-second effect. Now that means you can't chain hack targets, which Sombra could chain hack tanks, and that would kill the tank because they couldn't use any of their abilities. She can't do that anymore. And hacked enemy damage multipliers reduced from 40 to 25%. big reduction there. So she loses out on a lot of damage. She loses out on the power of hack. So she just goes down into a niche pick. And I think she truly is the niche pick queen in the game at the moment. If your Sombra is great, if you can work with your Sombra to coordinate dives on hack targets, yeah, it's fine. Her EMP as well. Also, this has been fixed, and I don't know whether Blizzard have noted this, but you could nano boost EMP. You can't do that anymore, and that would just win fights because obviously it would ramp the damage up. It doesn't work anymore, so you can't do that. So I think she really is a niche pick. You have to be a Sombra specialist to play her right now. If you're not, you don't want to be playing Sombra because you're just not going to get any value. I'm going to go for Brig next. I'm going to put Brig into playable. I think Brig might be a little bit underrated. Again, Brig is very survivable on her own, but I think Brig depends on who the other support is. If the other support is like Lucio, and you got Lucio Brig, I think you're going to suffer because you don't have enough of that sort of... I don't think you have enough healing output. While Brig does a lot of healing, especially with Inspire active, she doesn't really have that like get out of jail, I'm going to emergency heal you. Yeah, she can throw repair pack, but that's not going to save targets as like an Ana grenade would, or like a Baptiste lamp, or Kiriko throwing Suzu into you and pumping down heals into you. So I think Brig suffers in that regard. But if you do have Brig Kiriko, that's a great support line. If you've got Brig Baptiste, again, great. Brig Ana, great, because Brig can look after her other support. And I think that's where, if players make that change in playstyle and you are more of like a backline tank almost, I think it can work. Although I think the danger with Brig is you kind of want to be on the front line because that's where you're going to get most of your Inspire procs. It's where you're going to be smashing people with your hammers. You'll be able to heal your tank a little bit more effectively. But I think that she probably benefits from playing a little bit further back, especially if the enemy team are looking to hit you with dive comp. Again, Brig can be a good counter to that, which, you know, originally that's what she was designed for, and then she broke the game for years. But yeah, I think Brig's okay. I think her ultimate is kind of a bit weak, maybe, in terms of what it offers compared to other support heroes, but I still think Brig's pretty good because, again, she's hard to kill. She's not going to be securing kills as much as like a Lucio or a Kiriko or a Baptiste would be, or even an Ana, but she's going to be sturdy, I think, and I think she's definitely playable. But just do be aware as to who the other support is, because you're looking to pair her with a support that can output quite a lot of ranged healing and also maybe bail people out of bad positions. I'm going to go for Pharah, and I'm going to put Pharah into niche pick. I don't want to say Pharah's weak, because I've seen Pharah do the usual Pharah trick of destroy a lobby because nobody will play hit scan against her. And that's it. It's the moral of the Pharah story. Echo is a better flying character, if that's what you're into. But Pharah can destroy a team if they don't pick hit scan. But if they do, and the hit scan can aim, you're going to have a problem. Especially if they've got Zen and the Zen just discords you, you're going to have a real big problem. Again, Pharmacy is still a decent combo, but Mercy is putting all of her effort and power into the one character, into the Pharah, and again, it all depends on there just being no enemy hit scan. Also, her ultimate is absolutely terrible. It's the worst DPS ultimate in the game. So Pharah, she's in a bit of a bad place right now, but I think she's not super weak. I think she's just niche because you can only play her if there's no hit scan. Mei is now back in the game, and I'm going to stick Mei into niche pick level. This is because Mei is... like, you just play Reaper, you don't play Mei. Anything Mei brings to the table, Reaper brings to the table, just better. Mei's wall is okay, Reaper doesn't have a wall. But Mei's primary fire is kind of pointless. Her alternate fire is okay if you land the shots. She's more tankier than Reaper because she can go into Ice Block. But apart from that, yeah. And in fact, I don't even think she's more tankier because Reaper's lifesteal is so good. She's just sort of like, I don't know. I don't really know why you'd play Mei. That's the problem I've got. If anyone would know in the comments below when you'd play her, I think this makes her really niche. I don't think she's like weak and unplayable. I just think she is... You know, maybe there's a world we live in where Mei becomes quite a good counter to Roadhog, because if you're slowing him down, maybe it makes him easy to get killed. Although I don't think that's ever going to happen, because Roadhog will just kill you if you come near him. So, yeah, I just don't think she's very good. She's a close range hero that depends on, getting into close range, and there's just better heroes. The Torb, the Reaper, just destroy her in every single way. So I wouldn't really pick her. I'd only pick her if you were looking to do certain stuff like... King's Row first point defense, and you're looking to wall off the choke and have your team push onto the enemy tank as you wall them off. That's kind of it, really. Her ultimate's pretty good, though. I will say that about Mei, because it still freezes targets. Bastion. Oh, Bastion. I don't know where to put Bastion. He's not. I don't think he's playable. He's not weak, is he? Is he? No, I'm going to put him in niche. All right, Bastion, let me explain this. So I think Bastion gets to play Bastion every, 11 seconds, 12 seconds, 13 seconds, whatever it is, when he can go into tank mode. Apart from that, he's not doing anything. So you get, if you select this hero, you only get to play him when that ability is available to you. And yeah, sure, it will destroy enemy tanks. It will destroy literally anyone if they're near it. But again, it does depend on a lot of resources from your team being pumped into you. He's one of the only heroes that if I've got a Reinhardt as a tank, I think, oh, you know what, I'm going to play Bastion, because Bastion does sort of cure the Reinhardt weakness of being able to do damage when his barrier's up, because you do so much damage, and obviously with his barrier in front of you, you've got 1200 HP protecting you, you're just firing through, and also you've got Reinhardt himself, if his barrier goes down, absorbing damage. So yeah, like, they work together okay, but apart from that, the moment-to-moment gameplay outside of when you're not in tank mode is just terrible. So I would not pick this hero. And you know, I said Pharah's ultimate is probably the worst in the game. Maybe Artillery Strike is, although actually no, I think it's better than Pharah's ultimate, because you can actually fire this without dying most of the time. Okay, let's go for the JunkerQueen. Oh, no, JunkerQueen. So I can't say she's weak. Okay, the reason why I can't say she's weak, she's better than these two characters. She's got to go, I think, into niche picks again. JunkerQueen was mega powerful and super dominant when the game launched. Actually, no, she wasn't. Wasn't she nerfed for the launch of the game? Hang on, I might be getting confused there. She was super powerful in Overwatch League because her commanding shout was very, very powerful. So it would give a lot of health to allies, and obviously the speed boost is great on it. And herself, she does a lot of damage anyway. Her self-sustain was much higher than it is now. But Blizzard nerfed all of that because she was the de facto top-tier tank. Losing the power in commanding shout, losing power from her lifesteal, from her wounds, from her passive, it all means that she's just she's a tank. She's a DPS disguised as a tank that doesn't do enough DPS. That's a problem. Whereas Roadhog just does massive amounts of DPS. And he also doesn't have to rely on applying wounds to targets to heal himself. He just literally presses a button and he instantly heals himself with shed loads of health. So yeah, she is not great. I think I really struggle to see why you would play her unless for some reason you would like going to play Doomfist or Hammond. You may as well just play JunkerQueen. That's why she's in the tier above. I don't think she's a niche pick as such, but she's C tier and definitely not D tier. I think I'll just leave it at that. Oh, actually, no. I will say her ultimate is good. That's the only good thing about her kit. But remember, Kiriko can just throw a Suzu into that and get rid of it because, yeah. Oh, Moira. Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, Lord. Moira. Oh. So I'm going to say, right, Diamond and below, she's S tier because you can just do loads of damage. You've got self-sustain. You can get out of bad positions. You've got good healing as well. But I think as you go a bit higher, she might get a little bit lower. I'm going to put her down into very good. This is because I think these two guys, Kiriko and Lucio, are the best support duo. But if you take Moira in the context of just like solo queuing and being able to look after yourself, you don't have to depend on other people. Yeah, you can get right up there to the highest levels of the game playing this hero. And she's fun to play. I will say that she is fun to play. I've played a lot of games with her recently. She is fun to play. She just does everything. That's the thing. She's got good self-sustain. She's got good damage at close range to deal with flankers or anyone messing around with her. That also heals her as well. She's got decent long-range poke. If you get good with the damage ball, you can just do loads and loads of... Like, that'll get you a lot of ultimates. Also, it can secure kills. The ultimate's decent as well. It's very good for just lasering down enemy supports and DPS. Just ignore tanks with it. It's also good for as an emergency long-range heal. Yeah, she's just fine. I think she's fine. I think she's very good. I think you'd be happy just playing Moira. All right, the last one. We finally get to it. It's Symmetra. Oh, no. Is she weak? She might be, you know. Oh, do I do it? Sim. Yeah, I'm doing it. Whatever. Sim, get to the D tier. Okay, Sim, let me reason this. Sim is an old hero, and I've said this every single time I've done a tier list. She still feels like an old Overwatch 1 hero. She's a hero built for assault maps. Assault maps not even in the game anymore. She finds it hard to find value. But like Junkrat, she can get value on Icon Bolt first point defense, for example, because your turrets are going to get value there. You can do cheesy stuff with Symmetra. You can teleport your turrets into the enemy backline. You can teleport them into odd positions. That can catch people out off guard. If you look at Li Zhang on Night Market, you can teleport to the high ground over the point and drop in. Li Zhang on Gardens, you can teleport to the point. So there are little things you can do with her. But she just doesn't have enough value from a primary fire. The fact she doesn't charge off barriers anymore is crazy. She just her alternate fire that they did buff to increase the speed of it, and I think they increased the size of it and the damage. It's just not great because it's easily avoided. She needs to get in close range to do damage. The problem we've got is Torbjourn and Reaper are just way better at that. She's not very tanky. She'll just die. Torbjourn and Reaper are way better at that, so she's weak. In her role, she's replaced by other heroes, and I don't think her role exists anymore in this game because this game is about movement, not about being static, and I think she's a bit static. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening and watching the video. It's been a juicy one. It's been a long one, but this, I think, is what we're looking at right now for hero power levels in this Overwatch 2 world of the post-mid-season patch. Do let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video if you did, and thank you very much for watching, and do give the video a like and subscribe to the channel for more, and I'll keep the content coming. All right, guys, thank you, and I'll catch you lovely lot on the next one. See you soon.